Hi there, this is Shauna from the Foiled Fox, and I'm here on the Paper Tray Ink and Ink to Paper YouTube channel, and I'm sharing an adorable stamp and die set called Dainty Daisies. Here it is. It comes in this hold and fold pouch with the magnetic catch that's so great for storage, and it has two 4x6 panels. It has lots of flowers in here that you can stamp the outlines, you can stamp the inside. It has leaves and it has sentiments as well. So it's very complete. And it has the matching die set, of course, which is right here, and then on the back it shows you all of the different dies that are in this set. And then I'm going to use one of my perennial favorites, which is Nifty Plaid. This is a great background stamp, and I like to use it a lot because it just gives a nice pop to your card design. And then I'm going to love to layer notched die set that it's a set of 3. I'm going to use the smallest and I'm going to use the largest for this. The smallest actually has a little stamped, pierced border to it, and you'll see that when it's all cut out. But here's the papers I'm going to use. I'm going to use a black card base. Of course, I want a piece of black for the small panel, and then I have berry sorbet and then some white card base. Berry sorbet and the black, of course, are part of the Paper Tray Ink paper collection that does match with their inks. So starting with the black here, that little panel, I'm going to cut that one out. Then I'm going to take a white panel and cut out the largest one, the notched. And then I'm going to cut out the flowers, and I'm going to cut out the leaves in white and the flowers in the berry sorbet. So here they all are, all of the things we just cut out. I'm going to put them back so we keep them all nice and neat, because right now I want to stamp the Nifty Plaid. So I've mounted it into my stamp positioner with some white cardstock. I'm going to use true black ink, but I'm going to use a little bit of that repositionable tape just to hold it down to make sure it's on there. So I'm using true black ink, and I'm inking this up really, really, really well. I do like to get a good inking the first time, the good stamping, but you know, the great thing about a stamp positioner, as we know, is that you can go and stamp it again if you need to, if there's some areas that didn't cover as well as you would have liked. But that looks like I got a good stamping there, so I'm going to just set those things aside, and I'm going to work on the flowers and the leaves. So I'm going to separate the leaves. Those are all in white, and then the flowers in the berry sorbet. There's stamps, there's outline stamps, and there's little stamps that you can stamp on the inside color of this. I'm going to use some Copic friendly ink. This happens to be Extreme Hybrid by My Favorite Things, because I am going to just use a tiny bit of coloring. But for right now, I'm going to stamp each of these with black ink, each of these stems. And once I get those all done, I'm going to move on to the flowers. I'm going to do this last one, and you probably know that I often do more than I need, but this one I think I got just the right amount. So I'm taking some anti-static powder, and I am coating all of these little flowers, because I am going to stamp these outline of the flowers with Versamark ink, which is a clear sticky ink, so that I can white heat emboss it. So I'm going to do all of these. I'm going to stamp all of these, and then we will sprinkle the white embossing powder on all of these, and then heat emboss them all at the same time. So trying to be as efficient with my time as possible. Now I know I chose to do colored paper here. There are stamps that you can stamp the color on the inside, and there's stamps for the outline, but as we're using here. But the reason why I wanted to do it with colored paper is because I wanted color all the way throughout. I didn't want a white border. I really wanted a big pop for these flowers, because with a primarily white and black kind of background, I wanted something that would really stand out. So now that those are all set, I have the embossing powder sprinkled on them. I'm just going to heat emboss each one of them, holding them with some tweezer. You can kind of hold them in some areas where the embossing powder isn't. And then I'm going to just take a couple of Copic markers. You can skip this step. You can use colored pencils. You could have used watercolor paper here and then stamped them and then watercolored it. But I'm going to use these Copic markers, and I'm just using 2 for the flowers. I'm using RV04 and R39. And the R39 is for the very dark color. And then I'm using some greens that are just really bright and cheery too. These are YG03 and G46 for the inside of these kind of leaves. And I you know, like I say here, you can stamp the inside of it, but I find this so much easier because I can just color these in really quickly, and I don't have to be as precise with my stampings to try to get each one in there in just the right place. So with that done, and I have the flowers, and the leaves done, I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to take this little black panel that we cut out previously, and I'm going to just use some repositionable kind of adhesive dots there, stick it to my surface, put a lot of anti-static powder on there, and I'm taking one of the sentiments that is in this stamp set, and it's called Sending Love and Hugs. It's really cute, and I thought this would be perfect for any occasion. So I put a lot of anti-static powder on there, and I'm stamping it with the Versamark ink because I'm going to white heat emboss this. I can just peel that up. That's the beauty of repositionable adhesive dots, because it allows you to pick it up and move it, and yet it can hold it steady. So there, the embossing powder is all on there, and there's a few little errant bits on here. So I'm taking a tiny little brush and I'm going through and I'm kind of brushing those away, because the one thing about a dark surface, when you do heat emboss with a really light embossing powder, it can really show up if you don't get those little bits off of there. So really try to be real careful about that, and the more anti-static powder you use, the better. So I'm taking this panel that we had cut earlier, the notched one, and I'm going to mount it right onto our card base, our black card base. Now I'm going to take this nifty plaid and I'm going to trim off the edges off the side, and I'm going to trim off the top because I just want it to kind of fit right into those notched corners. Now I have a piece of foam that I've cut for the back of this and for the back of that little black panel that we did, because I want to pop these up. So I'm adding some foam. You could also use foam tape here if you'd like. I like to use foam because if you're going to put this through the mail, it doesn't collapse in any of the areas when it's pressed down. It's just a solid piece. And then I'm going to take some tape and put this, the double stick tape, and put this on the foam panel on the back of this. I just cut one of those panels out and then trimmed it on the edges with the foam. And now, you know, I told you this has this little pierced edge, which I think is adorable, and I wanted it to show up a little bit more. You can absolutely forget this step if you'd like, but I wanted that wonderful little pierced border to show up, so I used a white gel pen and then just very carefully went and just dotted each of those dots, and it filled right in. And so now you can see it just shows off the edge of that panel. And so I have now stuck that down with some double stick tape. And now all we have to do to finish this card is to put on our flowers. And so I'm just going to position these around. I never quite know what I'm going to do with them until I start sticking them down, and I am using some foam tape and a little bit of glue here and there because I want it to meet up with the level of the black panel, that little black panel, and I just want them to rest on there very nicely. I don't want it to cover up the words, but I want them to come really close to it. I'm just going to kind of position those in there. You know, you always have to fiddle when you get to this point because you're never quite sure how you want to have it. And I do have a little bit of foam tape on the back of these. I'm going to stick those down. Now I fiddle with these because I'm not sure if I want to use all 4 flowers. Usually I like to keep to an odd number, but I think for this one it's not going to matter as much. Um, and I'm not quite sure where I want to have it, but I fiddle with it. And I'm taking this stem that has these leaves, and I'm just going to cut off the stem, doing a little surgery there, because I just want to use those little leaves. Now I put them here, but in the end, I actually just move these around a little bit differently, because I don't ever know how I want to have it, but you'll see by this that I just move them around a little bit differently. That's the beauty. You can decide what you like to how you like to have it look. And I really think this is a very cheery card, and the sentiment works for any occasion, so it's perfect to have in my stash whenever I need a card. And hopefully you enjoyed it as well, and that maybe you would give it a try. If you would like to, here are a few of the items I use: the Dainty Daisies, the Nifty Plaid, the Notch die set, and there's a complete supply list. You can pop over to foiledfox.com's blog, where we do have everything there, but you can also go to blog.inktopaper.com and check out what they have there. They have lots of inspiration and goodies there too. I want to thank you so much for joining me, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.